Welcome to Canadian Citizenship Test Prep. In this video, we'll cover one essential chapter from Discover Canada, explained clearly and simply. In this chapter, we'll learn about Indigenous peoples, including First Nations, Inuit, and Métis, and their important role in Canada's history. We'll also cover early settlement and relationships that shaped the country.
To understand Canada today, it is essential to understand its beginnings. This video explores Canada's Indigenous peoples, early European settlement, and the foundations that shaped the nation you are preparing to become a citizen of. Indigenous peoples, the first inhabitants. Long before Europeans arrived, Indigenous peoples lived across what is now Canada. They developed diverse cultures, languages, and systems of governance, each closely connected to the land. Indigenous peoples are commonly grouped into First Nations, Inuit, and Métis. These groups had established societies with strong traditions, trade networks, and spiritual beliefs long before contact with Europeans. First Nations. First Nations lived in hundreds of distinct communities across the land. Some lived by farming, others by fishing, hunting, or trading, depending on the region. Today, many First Nations people live on reserve lands, while others live in cities and towns across Canada. First Nations have made important contributions to Canada's culture, economy, and political life. Inuit people. The Inuit live mainly in Canada's northern regions. Their knowledge of the land, sea, and wildlife allowed them to survive in one of the harshest climates on Earth. Inuit culture continues to play an important role in Canada's Arctic identity and sovereignty. Métis people. The Métis developed from relationships between Indigenous peoples and European settlers. They formed a distinct culture with their own traditions, language, and history, especially in the prairie provinces. Today, the Métis are recognized as one of Canada's Indigenous peoples under the Constitution. European exploration and settlement. European exploration began in the late 1400s and early 1500s. The French were among the first to establish permanent settlements, focusing on the fur trade and alliances with Indigenous peoples. France established New France, mainly along the St. Lawrence River. British influence in Canada. Britain later gained control of much of Canada through wars and treaties. Over time, British institutions, laws, and traditions strongly influenced Canada's political system. This blending of French and British traditions remains a defining feature of Canadian society today. Treaties and Indigenous rights. As European settlement expanded, treaties were signed between Indigenous peoples and the Crown. These agreements were meant to define land use and cooperation, but many were not fully respected. Today, Indigenous and treaty rights are protected by the Canadian Constitution, and reconciliation remains an important national goal. Why this history matters for citizenship. Understanding Canada's history helps explain Canada's diversity, its legal and political traditions, its commitment to rights, respect, and reconciliation. Remember, Indigenous peoples lived in Canada long before Europeans. First Nations, Inuit, and Métis are distinct groups. French and British traditions shaped Canada's institutions. Indigenous rights are constitutionally protected. Now it's your turn to practice. These questions will help reinforce what you've learned and prepare you for the style of the Canadian Citizenship Test. Pause the video and select the right answers before they are displayed shortly after.
We hope this chapter helped you understand Indigenous peoples and early settlement in Canada. In the next video, we'll explain Confederation and how Canada became a country. If this video was useful, please like it and subscribe to continue the series.